The porch light flickered when I stepped out of the car. It was past midnight. The air bit through my coat, 15 degrees, maybe less. I saw her then, my sister, curled up in the dog kennel, bare feet, shaking hands, her lips the color of the snow that covered her. When I opened the latch, she didn't wake. She whimpered, like the dog that wasn't there anymore. I wrapped my jacket around her, lifted her. She weighed nothing. Her skin burned cold against my neck. The house behind us glowed with warmth. Fireplace, curtains drawn. Inside, her husband stood in the doorway, shirtless, a drink in hand. He didn't move when I carried her past him. "She miscarried," he said, voice flat. "She's useless now." I stopped, looked at him once, then kept walking. He laughed under his breath. It was 15 degrees, and she was almost dead. I put her in the car, started the engine, called the hospital. And as the heater hummed, I made one more call. Not to the police, to someone else. Someone who owed me. At the hospital, the nurse said the word hypothermic like it was something clinical, something that could be measured. I knew better. It was something that crawled under the skin and froze the will to live. They said she'd been outside for hours. He told them she wandered off. He told me it was an accident. But when I went back the next day to collect her things, there were no blankets on her side of the bed, no warmth, no trace of her life inside that house, only empty drawers and a closet filled with his suits. On the kitchen counter, I saw a broken photo frame, their wedding picture, cracked across her face, and a dog bowl filled with ice water. The dog itself was gone. He said, "She was unstable. You know how she gets." He said it with a smirk that told me he didn't believe a word of it. People like him never do. They lie with the ease of breathing, and they believe cruelty is a form of control. I didn't argue. I just watched. Every word, every motion, every careless flicker in his eyes. And quietly, I began to plan. The next week was quiet. He thought I'd gone home. He didn't know about the camera I left hidden in the living room clock, or the microphone under the couch. He didn't know I'd spent the last 6 years working cyber forensics for a private security firm. When you watch long enough, the truth always exposes itself. The recordings came slowly, hours of silence, of him talking to himself, drinking, smirking. And then, one night, his voice changed. "Shoulda left her in the cold. Woulda saved me the trouble." He laughed after that. And then he said something else, something that made my hands go still on the keyboard. She begged me not to lock her out. The tone wasn't regret, it was pride. I watched that part a dozen times, each playback colder than the last. When I finally sent the file to my contact, the reply came fast. 2 words. 48 hours. 48 hours later, I stood in the hospital hallway as my sister slept, her breath shallow, steady. The machines hummed beside her like distant thunder. My phone buzzed once. A message. No words, just a photo. Him, face down on the marble floor of his own living room, hand stretched toward the broken clock. The caption read, "Done." I stared at the screen for a long time. No satisfaction, no rush, just silence. The kind that fills you after everything breaks. When the doctor came in, I asked how she was doing. "She's lucky," he said. "Another hour and she wouldn't have made it." Lucky. I almost smiled. They ruled it an accident. Carbon monoxide leak from the furnace. That's what the report said. I visited the house the next day. The police tape fluttered against the wind. Inside, the air was still. The photo frame was gone. The clock was gone too. I stood where he'd fallen, stared at the spot on the floor where his blood had soaked through the rug. No one would ever connect the dots. No one ever does when revenge wears the mask of coincidence. Before leaving, I turned the thermostat to heat. For her, not for him. My sister doesn't remember much now. The doctors say it's trauma-induced amnesia. Maybe that's mercy. She thinks he left her. She doesn't know the rest. I don't tell her. I never will. Some truths don't heal. They only reopen the wound. At night, when I check on her, I see the faint scar on her wrist where the frost had bitten too deep. Sometimes she asks why I came that night. I just say, "You called." She didn't. But maybe, in some way, she did. As I drive home through the frozen air, I roll down the window, let the cold bite through me. It feels cleaner than warmth, more honest. Because in the end, justice isn't fire, it's frost, and it leaves no trace.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Subscribe now to Cheating Stories Insight World for more amazing stories.